I go, I hope there's rum. I know there's gonna be a lot on the island tomorrow. Well, I don't know. I don't know where I'm gonna go when the volcano blows. Lord, I don't wanna land in New York City. I wanna land in no Mexico. Don't wanna land no Three Mile Island. Don't wanna see my skin afloat. Don't wanna land Comanche, Skyport, or in Nashville, Tennessee. Don't wanna land no San Juan Airport or the Yukon Territory. Don't wanna land no San Diego. Don't wanna land no Buzzards Bay. Don't wanna land no Iota. I ain't got nothing more to say. Well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where I'm gonna go when the volcano blows. No, 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 no.
Hey everybody, happy Thursday night. It's Wes Souther with Preserve Navarre Live, and Miss Justine is in the building. How are
Hello.
you? Thanks for
Good.
being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a live show. It's a lot of fun. We do it every Thursday night. We get to honor local business owners, people who work in charities, and all kinds of cool efforts in the community. So very happy to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and looks like we got about 6 or 7 folks that are logged on so far. So I can see when you guys log in. I can see when y'all comment. Let me know if you can hear the sound, if all that's coming through okay. We usually take a couple minutes here just to welcome you guys in. So let me know. Wanted to thank everybody that's been on the show the past few weeks. We've had a lot of fun. We had Celeste on the show last week. She does resin and a lot of like beautiful artistry and craft work. Yeah, she's awesome. We had Father Kelly from St. Sylvester. He was on a couple weeks ago. That was a lot of fun. Shared his passion, how he started the church and all that stuff. And yeah, just every week I get to hang out with awesome folks like you. It's a lot of fun. So looks like Chaz is in. So Chaz, we were going to mention you. We know that you're feeling pretty bad, man. We hate that. We hate that you're under the weather. But wish you all the best in your recovery, man. Thanks for logging in even with that. Typically we get a couple other folks that log in early on. But let me know, Chaz, if the sound is coming in. Looks like we've got a few more. Awesome. Lee Benjamin is on here, so you can see how the comments kind of come through. And this is the best part of the show, is being able to interact with you guys and get your thoughts and questions, because we get to talk about Navarre, we get to talk about what's going on in the community, but we also get to talk about your business and your passion for it, and that's a lot of fun. So
Awesome.
looks like Lee says she's always worked so hard and is super passionate. You've already got an endorsement.
This is my brother.
Okay, but still.
I did not pay him to say this.
The first minute of the show, and you've already got like high praise coming in.
Thanks, man.
That's awesome. We're going to bring that back up. Awesome. Chad says, thank you. Sound is good. Great. Okay. So we're off and running. So the first thing I like to do on this show is just to recognize a couple of the sponsors. So I mentioned Chaz already. Chaz is a good friend. You know him well. He's an amazing person, very much involved in a lot of things in Navarre, in the Chamber of Commerce, doing awesome stuff there.
He's got his hand in everything.
He does, and he puts on the best events. I was over there with him, Elizabeth Kurz, Chuck Pullman, a bunch of other friends, and then Samuel and Sarah were getting to do kind of their ribbon cutting for their business as architects and all that stuff. And he put on the whole like feast for them, all the food out there, all that stuff.
I was bummed I didn't make it to that.
No,
I had a sick kid, and I was kind of sick myself, so I steered clear.
Well, that's where he's at right now. He's not feeling great.
Everybody.
Yeah, but I mean, he does that for every business, you know, that comes through there. Really has that personal touch, and just an amazing human being to work with and get to know. So with his company, Divergent Spectrum, they have helped tremendously with this show. He's got that Hollywood experience, and he knows how to do this right. So he's taught me and educated me so much on how to do this, helped me with the cameras and the lighting and everything else. So if this looks professional at all, it's because of Chaz. I want you guys to know.
Put a little lipstick on. You'll be fine. I was like, okay.
He's a great guy. Another amazing person, Elizabeth Kurz. She's a friend as well who's helped sponsor the show. I had here on her, she was on here about a month ago talking about her coaching and how she advises and mentors business leaders and charity owners and the whole thing. Speaking there at the chamber, she just amazing person.
She did a private session for us.
Did she really?
For the young professionals.
Yeah.
Our committee. It was awesome. She did so good.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, and the thing is, like, what I'm seeing is people like Elizabeth and Chaz and yourself are bringing in almost entirely new industries to Navarre. because a lot of folks in Navarre, we're going to talk, all about the military and everything else, but a lot of military folks, a lot of realtors, a lot of restaurant owners, but how many like coaches and mentors have we had? People like Elizabeth who can, take a step back with us, let us rethink our perspective, start to think what's going on between, beneath the conscious, and then start to examine our values and if we're actually, living them out correctly and putting them into our business the right way. Like, just amazing, right?
Yeah,
so
awesome.
The same thing with Chaz, like helping us with event planning and things like that, when so much of it, is starting together if he's not there. Another one, I got a couple more on here that I always love to highlight. Tom and Helen Tuttle, close friends of ours, very active in our group, and they do just the most beautiful woodworking. And I got an example that I love to show in the studio.
I don't think I've ever met them yet.
They are awesome. And some of the, like, just to show you guys that are watching live, these things can be enormous. So this is when I got home from my last deployment last year, is I had some friends waiting for me with one of those from Tom and Helen.
That's cool.
Isn't that awesome?
I was going to say that would be like a great retirement gift or something like that.
Yes. Yeah. Father's Day, birthdays, the whole thing. But they put their heart into it. They have a little family-owned business where they put this stuff together, and they'll do it different sizes and things like that. So for kids,
really
if you want it, they'll do the different services or whatever. If you want that, personalize it. And they do more than flags. I mean, they'll do chairs and tables and whatever you want. So really awesome people. That. And then one other one is the Veterans Treatment Corps. I don't know if you've heard of this one.
I haven't.
Okay, this one's up and coming. It's a charity effort by Carmen Reynolds, who's a dear friend. She's a lieutenant colonel who retired a few years ago, is very active in the community. She's putting this together, and the entire point of this is to take care of veterans when they're struggling, especially when that ends up in law enforcement. So we've seen evidence of that, folks that get out of the service and all that stuff, trying to find their path, struggling along the way. The Veterans Treatment Court identifies that. If someone finds themselves in a run-in with the law, it'll identify, okay, this person was a veteran, and then it starts to get access to their military records to figure out, hey, did this person have some issues when they retired? Are they on disability? Things like that. And then let's see what we can do to give them some type of specific path that speaks to that during their recovery, during, whenever they're paying their service back to society, and then getting them back on their feet, getting them back into successful employment. Yeah,
love that. There can never be enough, I feel like, veterans programs, period.
Yeah. I mean, so Okaloosa County has this, Escambia County has this, Santa Rosa County does not. And that's the thought is, hey, we definitely have enough veterans in our community, and we've seen the benefits of this program in other counties, so let's have it here to help folks. But yeah, sponsor for the show as well. So that leads me to Memorial Day. Something we were talking about a little bit before, going live. Memorial Day in Navarre. I mean, it hits hard in this community because a lot of people have spent considerable time overseas, and we're going to talk about your family and the sacrifices you've made for our country. But it's like everybody in Navarre either is a veteran, is married to a veteran, or knows some folks. So, I mean, it is just a special time in this community to like come together and be thankful for the sacrifices that people made, including, especially Memorial Day, the people who sacrificed everything. So a lot of fun events. Last Memorial Day, I was actually overseas myself and deployed. This one I got to be home, and they had a service on the park and stuff.
Oh, cool. I heard it was slammed busy out there.
Yeah,
I heard it was just almost like 4th of July. Like, it was so busy.
Because you've got like the junior ROTC folks are out, all the businesses are out. Colonel Black, the former Hurlburt base commander, she was out. She gave a beautiful speech.
Cool.
Just awesome thing. But for me, one of the fun parts too was we all got together after all of that evening over at Andy D's. So this is me and some friends out there, because Andy he's always giving discounts.
It's always a good time over at Andy's.
Yeah, so we had a lot of fun. But how about you guys? What did y'all do for Memorial Day this year?
So we went last minute. My husband is Army.
Okay.
And so he got tasked with kind of a like special recruitment detail, but fun. So we went to Miami.
Nice.
And it was the Air & Sea show. They put on the Air & Sea show every year.
I think you sent me a picture on this show. I'm going to find it. Yep.
It's kind of like a recruiting
there we go.
thing, but it's got to probably be more of a like whoever's in the area can go and just show up, because there's equipment and there's guns and I don't know, I'm gonna say all the wrong military stuff.
It's all right.
I'm like helmets, and there's got to be another word for it. My husband's gonna be like,
cool toys.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Cool toys, tanks, trucks, and they just had
very
like
Army things.
Every fighter plane there, like the crazy thin B2, I think he said.
Yep.
They were all just like
That's
flying
awesome.
all over. I mean, it was wild. It was really cool. And
So
then,
he's on this trip to recruit more people to join.
yeah. So he did a
great.
helo cast.
Nice.
I know that much.
There we go.
He got tasked with that, and
That's
then some of his
awesome.
buddies did a static line jump, and
That's great.
yeah, it was really cool. I mean, it was impressive. I wasn't expecting that, and then we got there, and I was like, oh my gosh! And they, are going up, and
That's so
they
cool.
go by like so fast. You're just like, oh my gosh! And
Yes.
then some go by, and you think it's gonna be super loud, and they're like really quiet.
Yeah.
And, that one B2 looks like it looks paper thin in
Right.
the air. It looks
Right.
like so small. And they had like the oldest fighter jet flying next to the newest one, and they were like kind of doing it in tandem. It was pretty cool. It was a cool
It's so
experience.
important because I have this conversation constantly because I think you guys are pretty close to where I'm at. A lot of my service comes from the 9/11 generation of living through that. I think I was in high school, 9th grade when that happened, and that kind of formed my paradigm. And so service to your country just made sense to people who lived through that. But now I talk to folks who are in the service, and a lot of them, they were 1, 2, 3 years old when 9/11 happened. Some of them now, 18, 19 years old, they were born after that happened, right?
Yeah.
And some of them, it wasn't even in the history books or anything. So they're just like, I heard
It's
about
like that gap time.
Yeah. And it's just like trying to explain to them, okay, this is what happened to our country. This is how people felt. And this is why a lot of, folks serve, and trying to kind of give that legacy to them when for us it was just kind of right in front of our faces on TV.
Yeah.
So doing stuff like that, I love it. I think that's
it was
amazing.
really cool. We had a good time, and
Good.
it was nice. It was like,
Good.
you never get good news from the Army normally as like a military spouse. You're just like, oh, my husband's leaving again or whatever. So it's kind of nice to, that perk was kind of cool. It's like,
100%.
hey, come to Miami, bring your family. Like, we need you to work these days. But we got to go spend some time together, and my daughter loved it.
Yeah, I'm sure she did. That's awesome.
It was a nice little last minute trip.
Awesome. So the other thing that I did, I just had to throw this in there because we're going to talk about interior design, and you're going to have to educate me on all this stuff. Okay. So I'm your typical guy who knows nothing about it.
But the yard looks great.
I did do some work outside.
You did some exterior design.
Exterior design, yeah. So
it looks fantastic.
My wife was like, "We got to fix this." We had the worst yard in the neighborhood. So
I can't be that guy.
Yeah, I know. So I ended up mulching all weekend long and got it there. And this of course is what's left over that I have to get rid of is all the old rock. So
I'm very familiar with rock piles in my driveway.
So I'm not completely deficit of homemaking skills.
There
but
you go.
I've got a lot to learn on this, and I'm looking forward to it. And that's really the big part of this show. Is you already talked about your family and the military sacrifice, and that's so common in Navarre and amazing. But I also love the fact that you have a skill set of your own that you're bringing as an entrepreneur, and that's really cool. And I put this together because these are just some of the folks that we've talked about or had on the podcast. So Robert Reyes from Stripes in the bottom left,
awesome. Kevin
Lucas, an entrepreneur in the bottom right, in the healthcare industry. Some of the tradition and legacy of our community. Michael Carter's playing NFL football, and then Rick Landreth is a war hero. He was in the missions during Black Hawk Down, right? They've portrayed him in movies and everything else, but grew up just north of Navarre up there.
Know that.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. His nephew is a friend of mine. In Holly, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was one of the Holly boys.
Cool.
And just amazing, right? The kind of people that we have in Navarre.
Yeah.
And really, the whole point of this show is to celebrate those folks and introduce them to the community to them, and get people talking about wow, look at who we have. I had no idea we had someone who was innovating in healthcare. No idea. With Chaz and everything he does for events, and Elizabeth with her coaching and all that stuff. So really just celebrating the people in Navarre. It's not a drive-through community. It's an incredible place. So let me look at a couple of these comments here, and then we're going to start talking about you. So
100% my family and friends.
Awesome. That's what we want. That's what we want.
I'm just glancing at the names. That's my husband. That's my senior designer.
That's great. Well, we're going to get through all these because they always make the show fun is when we've got folks jumping on there and talking about it. There we go.
They're probably not saying anything about
That's
you.
definitely the husband right there. What's up, man? That's awesome. Thank you for joining in and commenting and all that stuff. Okay, so he says you're gorgeous. Your whole family. I mean, look at that. That is the most gorgeous picture I've ever seen.
Thank
that
you.
just makes your heart melt.
Thank you.
That's a beautiful. Where was that?
Not in Navarre Beach.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, we got here, and
great.
I had a COVID baby.
Yeah.
And so she was born in March of 2020.
What a beautiful family. Yeah.
And that was right before he was gone for the better part of 2
Yeah,
years.
so how many-
So we got pictures, and I was like, let's document it.
How many deployments have y'all gone through? And I say you, and hopefully he'll back me up here, because when you deploy, it's the whole family, right?
Yeah.
Like, so my wife was in for 4 years. She deployed once, and I was the one at home, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is just as hard, if not more difficult.
Yeah.
Because she's out there doing fun things in the Middle East. I'm at home just like counting the days.
Yeah.
And that's excruciating.
Yeah.
So I've been on both sides.
Body training, sleep training. Yeah.
So we've done 4 as a family, 1 with her, 3 with me. And it is such a unique experience. It's very difficult, and everybody experiences it differently.
Yeah.
And, you know, you get different support from different folks, but it's always just such a special thing and a huge sacrifice, you know.
So they deploy a little bit differently than you guys do in terms of time frames.
Yep.
So he's been on one long 6-monther,
Okay.
but then in between there was like ranger school and,
Yeah.
you know, and then there's
The lead up
short
is
little
huge.
J sets that are like 30 to 60 days, and those are, you know, just a quick turnaround, and then maybe home for 30 days and then off to a school, and
Right.
that school is 9 weeks, so it's like it
Right.
might as well be a short deployment. So a lot of, I mean, I don't know,
A lot of time away.
of those, a lot of time away, and then he's got another one coming up the end of this year for 6. So we haven't had a 6-monther in quite a while. So
Okay. But a lot of that training
grinning
adds
and
up.
bearing it.
Yeah, my cousin, he's with the Guard in Mississippi, so he did a year-long deployment, all that stuff, but it ends up being more like 2 years by the time that it's done, all the training and then like the post coming
Yeah,
back.
because you're super busy on the front end, getting ready, and long days, and
And then of course, like I could, you know, all the Air Force jokes, I'm here for it, because when you go to an Air Force deployment, you know it's an Air Force deployment, because like the kid comes in, it's like, hey, is your Wi-Fi working in your hotel room? You know, trying to make sure that it's good.
Yeah.
I've been on an Army deployment before, and it's a totally different experience. Like, you know?
Our neighbors.
Where's the lattes? You
I know.
Like,
Our neighbors are an Air Force family, and
Okay.
he's a pilot, and they always are just giving each other just crap constantly,
Yeah,
back
the
and
Army
forth,
deploys
back and
for
forth.
real. So,
Yeah.
So, amazing. And how did you guys find yourself here? Because going through all that training, all that transition, obviously moving around, I'm sure a bunch and all that stuff. How did he get the assignment here, and what was he looking for with that, from what you can tell me?
So when he came out of his training course, there's a handful of places that you can choose to go.
Okay.
And so they kind of got like a 1, 2, 3, I believe, if I remember correctly, of like their preference. And his brother is also military.
Okay.
And so he's been down here for maybe a decade at this point.
Okay.
Less, I think, whenever it was
Yeah.
our turn to get down here, because we've been here for about 4 years now.
Okay.
And so he picked this place as first. He loves the beach too.
Yep.
He loves,
Yep.
you know,
Same.
doesn't want to be cold, so that eliminated, you know, a couple of the locations, and so he picked here as his first choice, and then got it.
So did he grow up here? Was he originally from
No,
this area? Okay.
he's from Oklahoma. I'm from Dallas.
Okay,
and
all right.
So, but I think really just because his brother's been down here, and his brother's also is still active duty,
word
almost
gets around.
retiring.
Yep.
But he was like, oh, I really want to go be with my brother, and I don't blame him. If I
Yeah.
had the chance to be this close to my sister
Sure.
and work, I would do the same thing. So, you know, it's a beautiful area. There was definitely a handful of worse places to be sent to.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, you know what? I think I can do the beach for a couple years.
Right.
That'll be good. So
Right.
yeah.
My favorite thing about this area, because I had been here several times, I had to sell my wife on it, because she's from New England and stuff. She
Okay.
thought she knew what beach was, and I'm like,
No,
like,
no,
you gotta come down,
you're
like,
this isn't,
you can actually jump in this
isn't
water,
the Jersey Shore.
right, without freezing
this is
to
different.
death.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had to sell her on it, but it wasn't difficult to do. The best part of it is you have all the military stuff, the resources, multiple bases, but also the local community and the culture. There's enough of that here, right?
It's
Just
still
kind of,
small town.
yeah, it's got like the beach culture, the southern culture, and a little bit of, you know, of all that can stand on its own.
Yeah.
You know, and then the military comes on top of that. There's been other places I've been at where it's like the military just takes over everything.
It's like
and
living
there
in a
is no
college
local
town.
culture.
Like you're
Right.
just that's what you are. You're the
Exactly.
college.
That's one of the best parts. And I think kind of, you know, talking about your business a little bit gives you that chance too to interact with people, join the chamber, all that kind of stuff, get involved. Before we get to that though, we got to update the picture. There it is. All right. I have this in my
There she
house.
is.
I have the pictures from like when my kids were like 1 and
Yeah.
2 and stuff. Now my kids are like 6 and 8, right?
I
So
barely
just wanna keep
have
'em young. I
like
just wanna keep
nice
'em-
framed pictures
Yeah.
of her, and people would always laugh because when she was a baby, like we had literally that one.
Yeah,
And
she's
I've got just
adorable.
as many pictures of my nieces and nephews, and they would come. They're like, what is your kid? How many kids do you have? Who are all these children? I'm like,
Because
my
they
nieces and
progress.
nephews.
Yes.
It's not Aubrey.
That's awesome. Yeah, she's adorable.
And she loves a good photo op. So
Awesome.
she was like, take a picture of me in front of this fountain.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, smile.
I think we talked about that too. As my daughter told me the other day, I'm an 8-year-old woman, Daddy, and I'm just like, I'm not ready for this. Can
No.
you like,
Nope.
we just freeze
My
time
husband
right
would
now?
fall out.
Yeah,
He
can we
would be
just
like,
freeze time?
Pass.
I'm not ready for you to be a teenager. It makes me feel old. But so you've got the military career taken off, and he's obviously doing incredible things and all that stuff. Talk to me about this. How did you get involved in interior design and kind of discover your own passion along the way?
So I went to school for interior design. I did
Okay.
2 years of interior design at the University of North Texas up in
Okay.
Denton, Texas. And then I shifted midway through to business. And so I ended up kind of getting a collaborative degree in both.
Okay.
But when I graduated, I worked for like a furniture showroom, and then I worked for all other different like stone and tile, all other different parts of like the luxury design world in Dallas. And so
Okay.
I never had an interest to be an interior designer really in Dallas because I always loved the positions I was in and what I was learning, and I
Yeah.
had a great network and I was making good money, and so there was no real call for that. In the market there is so saturated. Like
Okay.
there's so many like high-end industry
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah, I've been to Dallas
partners.
many times.
I mean,
yeah.
that's just the building there is incredible. The growth is incredible. The economy is incredible. So I was like, you know what? I'm good. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have an interest in this. And then we moved here, and I was like, I always tell everybody I was like 150 weeks pregnant with Aubrey, and I was like, I'm gonna LLC myself
Right.
and take this like
Yeah.
business course, to kind of get up and running. And my husband
Got
was
it.
like, great timing. Okay.
Yeah.
So I did it, but I saw kind of a gap in the market here, and
Yes.
it feels like you mentioned about this community being more than just the military, and you see it so much as a young professional, which is why we started the Young Professionals.
Right, at the chamber. Yeah,
as
I'm
like
familiar with
a sub group of the chamber, because there's a lot of transients here.
Okay.
And it's whether it's people moving here and staying here that have nothing to do with military, or retiring and then staying here, or just passing through from
Right.
because this is where they're stationed. There's a lot of young professionals kind of in that like early 20s to like early 40s, mid
Okay,
40s.
I can be a part of it. Good. I wasn't sure. Like, barely made the
We always
cutoff.
say like 40-ish on the invites. We're like young professionals if you're like 40-ish.
I asked Shonda that. I was like, how young is young?
I know. I
'Cause,
keep
like,
telling everyone, I'm like, I'm about to age out of this system.
Can
so
I go? Do my kids need to go? Like,
yeah. So it's been really good. I feel like people in this area are like dying to connect.
They
And there's
absolutely
not
are.
a ton of outlets for them to be able to do that. One, physically, places like Andy D's and St. Michael's
Mm-hmm.
where you can go and you can show up and you can hang out and you can bring your kid,
Right.
and it feels relatively safe, and
Right.
you see friendly faces. Places like that are invaluable for
Yeah.
kind of that little small town feel to
Right.
have, and places for maybe moms that are working remotely and they're
Yeah.
mostly home with their kids and there's nowhere for them to go plug in because they don't have an office. A group like a young professionals group it's awesome. Sometimes it's the only socialization you'll get with another adult your entire month. I mean,
Yeah.
depending on the stage of life you're in, or if you have an active duty spouse. So it's been awesome. It's been really nice to connect with new people that are like-minded, and some people are entrepreneurs, and some people work for companies that are local, and some people are, have an online presence. So it's just been really cool to meet
Yeah.
new people, and kind of gives me that little warm fuzzy feel that I get when I go back to Dallas and I'm networking with all my people
Right.
that I've known for like a decade or more. I'm like, okay, I've got this little new group here, with Chaz and my young professionals
Yes.
group, Bridget, Nick, Andrew. It's like, it's
so
fun.
needed. Yeah, because
Yeah.
just kind of speaking for myself, the military world is like a completely different one.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when I go on that base, and it's like I'm leaving Florida behind to a degree.
Yeah.
I mean, minus the heat, right? You still
Yeah.
feel that, but you're talking to people all across the world. You're synchronizing stuff overseas and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. And there's so many people that are doing that.
Yeah.
And then what you guys have with the young professionals, I mean, that is absolutely unique. to this area,
Yeah.
it's precious because it's so rare, because most people just do the military thing, then they retire, and then that's it,
Yeah.
right? How do we nurture an actual like thriving business community so that people like Chaz and yourself and Elizabeth have like sustainable employment, customer base, all that stuff here?
Yeah.
That's stuff that Elizabeth Kurz and I talked about a lot, is trying to get into that mindset. And I won't share too much, but with Chaz specifically, I was like, we got to keep this guy, like, because he was thinking about leaving. I was like, no,
Yeah.
we need event planners in Navarre, right?
Yeah.
Like this community, like we have a whole lot of military folks. How many folks do we have that actually know how to do a spread like Chaz? Like,
Yeah,
you know,
I know.
or help me with the lights. You
I
know.
know. Well, and there's a whole lot of small
So,
businesses here
yeah.
that you want to support that are local, that maybe aren't young professionals. Maybe they're older professionals and
Sure.
have been doing it for a long time, and they're
Sure.
30 years in the business or 40 years in the business. That's why kind of when we pop around monthly and we go to restaurants and places where most of these guys are just locals and they've been doing it for a long time. Like Andy, he's got extensive industry experience, and so it's nice to kind of give them a minute to say, hey, can you just like talk to this group about how you got started, or like give us 3 takeaways for how you've succeeded in business, or things to pay attention to as a young young entrepreneur, a young professional. We learn just as much from them, I think, as they do from us, because some of them are like, oh man, I've been doing it forever, I don't have a Facebook page, or I don't have media, and we're like, well, people can't find you if you're not online now, and like, how are you going to reach the younger generation coming up that is going to Google it immediately and see if you've got social media? So I think it's like really mutually beneficial if those people can work together and kind of find that business common ground and come together. So, that piece of the community, I think, is really cool, and there's a lot to tap into there.
Yeah, so you mentioned Andy's, and I wanted, before we get to your stuff specifically, I wanted to get your perspective on his restaurant. So do you remember when it was Broussard's before?
I do, and we never went there.
I know, that's what I was going to say. Like,
we never went
the job
there.
he's done, right?
Yeah.
And I had him on the show, like, it's one of my first guests on.
Well, he's a New Yorker, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, like, so he's someone who originally comes from that whole life, completely different, because you're talking about coming from Dallas, and then he comes down here, but he's the first one to tell you that he embraces the culture of Navarre, rather than trying to change it or make it New Orleans or make it a New York pizza spot. No, he's like, we're going to embrace the culture with this restaurant, and that's what he's done. I think in the past, what's it been, a year or two that he's been in the lead, and you just see that with, like, again, I'm showing my ignorance about your profession, but it's designed really well, I think, inside. Like, just the beautiful artwork and the
Tia
feel
did a
that
great
you
job.
get.
I think she did all the murals and stuff on the inside and the
I didn't know if you were going to be like,
outside,
oh, no, it was okay. Like, it was surprised.
No, I think
I thought it was amazing.
I think it's fun because it's, people come to the beach and they don't want to be too serious and stuffy. I mean, there's an element, I think, that I would love to still see Navarre have, of somewhere you can go sit down and it feels really nice, and like it was a well thought out space and mapped out really nicely. Actually, I think Beach House has done a good job with their renovation. It's nice. You want to sit and you want to chill and you have a drink, but it's a completely different type of environment than going to Andy's or Juana's. You want to go there and kick your feet up, and I think he's done a great job.
Let's show some folks some of the art and the science behind what you do, and I can't wait for this because I'm going to learn a lot, I know. So I just kind of pulled this from your website, and then we've got some photos that I think you sent me, and it says kind of like the first thing that you see when you go to the site is, we create homes that are livable and lively. So what does that mean exactly? Livable and lively.
So we live at the beach, so things need to be livable. They need to be durable. Most of my clients have some form of child or pet, or
I was going to say, like,
something. I just feel like I've worked with a range of people, and everybody's like, listen, we want it to be pretty, but it's got to function.
Can it withstand sand? And,
can I vacuum it? Can I power wash it off? And then the lively piece is just part of why I named my business Jaunty J Interiors, is because Jaunty means lively and happy and joyful, and I feel like that's who I kind of naturally am as a person. I'm pretty boisterous and energetic and outgoing, and I really want to kind of pour that into my clients and help bring out the best of their families and their homes, so that they feel like their best selves when they're in that space.
I love that so much because I feel like that should be more of like the motto of Navarre, right? We've got like the whole,
Yeah.
different things that
love
they've
that.
tried. They had, most relaxing place, right? I love the best kept secret, but so much has been poured into tourism for
Yeah.
Navarre, right? That's changing. But yeah, like the most relaxing place. I mean, I guess so, but like, have you seen the traffic?
Not
The
98
lack of
traffic,
infrastructure and all that stuff.
Once you make it to the other
But
side
livable
of the
and
beach.
lively, like that to me describes the best of Navarre,
Yeah,
right? Like,
I think so too.
right? Like, because it's a lively place.
Yeah.
Like,
There's a lot going on.
right?
There's a
Like,
lot going on.
Everybody's got an opinion about everything, and
Yes.
and all that kind of stuff. But it's still a livable place. So
Yeah.
I love that. Both for your business, but it's speaking to the best of our culture too. All right, let's look at some examples because, like, I think of my kids like tracking in sand and everything else, and not everybody like has little kids like us. But talk to me about what's going on here, because again, not understanding this. Talk to me about what you see in this picture and a couple of the other ones we'll go through that shows that artistry at work.
That make it livable.
Yes.
Some of those things.
Yeah.
Well, the fabric is all performance fabric.
Okay.
So, when you have dogs.
I need that. Yeah.
When you have dogs and kids, that's pretty much a non-negotiable these days, and you can get performance fabric and anything from a brand that you find on Wayfair all the
Okay.
way up to the most expensive performance fabric you could imagine. That's incredible that you would never guess would be
Yeah.
performance fabric. It's come a long way in the last 20 years. And then I'm trying to think what else. I mean, these clients, their kids were a little bit older. Their youngest was, I think, 5. And so they're not necessarily into like the smashing spaghetti on their face
Sure.
anymore. And they don't have huge dogs. They have little dogs.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit different to contend with. Their rug is a natural material.
Okay.
I think we ended up doing a jute wool blend.
Mm-hmm.
So you can take it outside. You can shake it out.
Mm-hmm.
The wool allows it to be cleaned. Wool is extremely environmentally friendly. It can last absolutely forever if you take care of it. And there's no toxins on
Right.
a wool rug. It's just going to be wool. It's just 100% wool. So it's kind of inherently clean.
And I love how like the open design too with the kitchen.
Yeah,
and
we just
the sunlight with the windows
their
coming
pools
through.
back behind those
Okay.
French doors, and then the patio off the kitchen. So we just did bright and light and
Yeah.
airy, and the homeowner just wanted a really earthy, natural palette. She didn't want a whole lot of like beachiness per se.
Yep.
Even though we live at the beach, she was
Right.
like, I don't want fish on my wall. I want to, have kind of this elevated, neutral feel that just is relaxing. And she's a photographer, so she's a creative like me, and it was just really important to her to kind of have a neutral palette that
I
she
like
could
that
breathe.
though. Like let the beach kind of speak for itself,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
and then let your home speak for itself.
Yeah,
Right?
and the
Like,
husband was really into art. He had a great art collection, so it was
Yeah.
cool. It was like where it started to feel a little bit too like show homey, and it was like kind of really so neutral. Then they moved in, and he's got a ton of plants and a ton of art, and it was like both of their
I see them
styles
in the
just
back.
blended beautifully.
Yeah.
And there's more
gorgeous.
of this one on my website if you want to click
Okay.
through, but you'll be able to see some of the cool art
Yeah.
that was in there. And
Okay, and then this one, holy smokes!
so this is a rendering, actually.
Okay.
This is not designed yet, but this is the concept
Yep.
rendering
Mm-hmm.
for a 3D printed house, actually, that
Wow.
will be just outside of West Palm Beach.
Wow.
So I know you know Sarah and
I do, yeah. And same, they do a.
We had our little meeting
incredible
today,
architects.
so I'm really excited for that showcase. But 3D printing, for anybody that doesn't know, is basically like, think of like toothpaste. Comes out, the concrete kind of cement mortar blend comes out like toothpaste, and you literally print the walls of the home.
Yes.
And so it's extremely durable for places that have hurricanes, tornadoes. I mean, any kind of natural disaster you can think of. I don't remember exactly the fact, but I think it's like 3 times stronger just coming out of the printed machine than like a stick-built home.
Right.
It doesn't need to be insulated. You can if you want to, but insulation's not required because it already has plenty higher rating.
Yeah.
And you can do curves, which is really cool. That's one of the kind of
Yeah, they
exciting
mentioned that
things
too.
about it. It's just way more environmentally friendly.
Okay.
So yeah, it's cool. I'm excited to see what
Yeah.
happens with it. It's like we're very much at the beginning of the bell curve of interest. But if you look at any kind of graph of what's happened with 3D
Yeah.
printing, like from even 10 years ago to now, it's like just like a
Yeah.
straight line up.
One of the
So-
things that Samuel and Sarah talked about, because they gave a presentation to the chamber on this,
Yeah.
was this technology has been around for decades.
Mhm.
It's just that it's just now finally being
Yeah.
accepted by the industry out of necessity,
Yeah.
right? Like,
And on a large scale. I mean, people have been
Right.
3D printing in smaller scale,
That's
but
so
now
cool.
it's like you can print a whole home.
yeah,
It's
that's
wild.
so cool.
And it's much more efficient and stronger than anything we currently
Yeah.
have. So, yeah, I'm
Amazing.
really excited for this.
Yeah, it's
Everything
beautiful.
that's been printed so far, not everything, but a lot of things are kind of this conceptual, almost like Jetsons. I always
Mhm.
explain it like it's very Jetsons-y in people's mind. And so I think that this home will be nice because it feels like a home. It
Yeah.
feels like what people think of when they think of a home. You know,
Right.
there's soft materials. They're not just living in a concrete box.
Right.
So I think it's going to be really cool.
And I see a lot of similarities too between the first picture and this one. It's very intentional. Like you talked about, there's kind of dedication to the specific tones, and then just kind of an entire design that works well together without being over the top or in your face. It's just very welcoming, like
That's my goal.
yeah,
That's the
yeah,
goal.
it's beautiful. All right, I think we got a couple others. Is this another concept as well?
This is just a different angle.
Different
so
angle
the
of
front
the same
door is
home?
over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So different angle of the same
Yeah, I
home.
see the photo. Yeah,
and then around that little wall looks into where the living space will be.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the right side where that wallpaper is on the wall is like kind of the guest bedroom and primary bedroom side of the
Yeah.
house. So yeah, we're trying to take a relatively small footprint. This is
Mhm.
about 2,300 square feet, and outfit it really nicely and just
That's
do
a
a
great
really
point.
nice finish out that felt really luxurious and custom, even though it wasn't a huge footprint. And so, yeah, I think the architect did an incredible job.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful home.
That's a great point too, because between the insurance and the taxes and just
Yeah.
so many people living here, getting space right is not like it used to be.
Yeah.
It's so much more difficult, and to find a home, that's in your budget now,
Mm-hmm.
and so you may not get as much space as you could have 5 or 10 years ago. So now
Right.
you got to make the most of it, right?
Right. Yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense.
And it's super economical
Yeah.
for commercial spaces.
Right, we were stationed in Alabama before we came here, and just the difference in the market from
Oh,
there
gosh,
is
yeah.
night and day.
The difference in the
Yeah,
market
I
from
think we lost
2020 to
1,000
now
feet.
is completely different.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, absolutely. All right, so now talk to me about this one. I'm
so
going to
this
move
is
our
the exterior.
picture up here outside. Yeah, There
So
we go.
it's the whole entire exterior is 3D printed. And we will clad that little yellow, that's like a little
Mhm.
yellow tower. We'll clad that with tile, some like cool reflective yellow tile.
wow.
But everything you see there on the exterior of the home is 3D printed, obviously not the doors and windows.
hmm
And then we've got some kind of interesting wood screens on the outside, but
I can't tell. Does it have the curve? Is that part of it? Or not in
yeah,
this one? It does.
the
Okay.
exterior is all curved. Mhm.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. The Sarah and Samuel showed us that at the chamber, just the machine doing its thing while there's just like a guy sitting there watching it.
Yeah.
And it's just like slowly going around the
Yeah.
exterior, like just laying,
Yep.
like.
It was pretty
Yep,
wild.
next layer.
I was telling you,
Very
I
cool.
have fully intended to send out a Q2 newsletter on 3D printing and
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
just kind of explain a little bit more in detail. So hopefully
So
that's coming.
When do you think we'd see the first 3D printed home in Navarre? Because you said this is West Palm Beach, is that
This
right?
is outside of West Palm.
Yeah, I'd love to see that in Navarre. City. That'd be
I don't
so
know.
cool.
I'm hoping
That'd be wild.
I'm hoping Sarah and Samuel and I can bribe somebody to
Yeah,
invest in.
I'd see that on the front of Navarre Press,
Yeah,
and you got.
It'd be so
And
cool.
you design the interior of it. That'd be so.
It'd be
cool.
so cool.
All right, so this is some more concept
Yeah,
art?
that's on the other side
Okay.
of that wall. So that's that
That's
yellow
beautiful.
tower.
Yeah, same thing.
So
We'll
this
move
is
this out
kind of
the way
the
here so people can
this
see
is
it.
kind of the hangout area.
Yeah.
Living space, and then inside that little tower is just kind of like a little desk space. There'll be
Yeah.
a window in there overlooking the pool,
Sure.
and so it's just kind of a fun little cozy place to hang out.
Yeah.
and yeah,
It's
I'm
beautiful.
excited.
Amazing. All right. So now when we get to services for folks, because obviously like what we're talking about, like sure 3D printed home, that'd be cool to see. But what about for like the rest of us, like the folks that are already living in Navarre,
Yeah.
all that stuff? They're thinking, hey, maybe I'm making a change. I got kids that are moving out of the house, or my living situation's different. what services would you provide to folks like that?
So just a brief overview of my services in general.
Yeah.
I offer typically custom luxury new construction or renovation.
Okay.
For like the new build renovation side of things.
Yep.
But I also offer e-design. So if you are doing like a room refresh or, a space change or something like that, I offer e-design. And then you can see a little bit more on the website, the levels, but modified is kind of a combination of like a full service overhaul. So let's say you move here, you buy an existing home, but you sold your old home with all of its furniture. So now you need 3,000 square feet of furnishings and a design schematic. So that could be something that we could do a full service design for you. And we would take care of sourcing all of everything that it takes to put that together, create a beautiful schematic for you, and handle all the POs and the ordering and the tracking of orders and samples and everything that would take. And then that modified design is kind of a blend between a retail thing where we would come up with maybe a little bit more high level, like an e-design package for you, where we would send you something and say, hey, this is retail, you can go buy this, here's the links. Or we could do potentially a portion of helping you install maybe your main spaces, like your primary bedroom and your living room, if you wanted to focus on that. And then maybe your other spaces you could do modified design. And I do the same thing with my new build. Some people want to pay for the whole shebang and do it up big, and then other people are more selective about the spaces they want the most attention on. And so there's a bunch of ways to work with us. I also have a little, it's not on there, but I have a little kind of hourly option. I really was trying to think about something that I could serve and give back to the military community with. And with people PCSing all the time, I had a lady reach out to me that was in Perdido. And she was like, I have all this art from my old house and I want to create a gallery and I don't know how to do it. And I've got all this furniture from my old home and I don't know how to maximize the space. And I was like, shoot, I don't really offer anything to like support, spouses that are in this new place and they want to make their house a home. And I totally believe in that to my core, that you're going to be your best self. You're going to be your most functional. You're going to, be able to breathe the best if the space that you live in feels like a reflection of who you are. And you go home every day and you're like, oh, I love it here. That's where you should totally feel the best, is when you're at home. And so I found this website that allows me to send a link and people can pay for 1 hour of my time and they can show me pictures, they can walk me around their house if they want, and I can just give them as much information to help them out in that hour as I can. So I can help place furniture, I can help you arrange a gallery wall, pick paint colors. So not everybody needs a whole big design schematic, even as an e-design. So I thought that was a really great way, and I'm working now on trying to kind of put that out there and tap into my military networks to make that a little bit more visible.
So we'll start with the military part. Just thinking about that, because you're facing a deployment where your spouse is going to be gone, training, and then overseas. Like I said, could be 6 months, sometimes even more. Right? It's an adjustment now. Like, you got to say, okay, it's going to be a while. What are we going to do during these 6 months to stay busy and keep our lives going? Right? It's a great time taking on a project, and saying, hey, this is the time where we're
telling me. Preaching to the choir. My husband's like, does this home have to change every time I leave? I'm like, thank you for asking. Yes, it does. I'll send him. I'm like, what do you think about this pantry renovation? He's like, please stop changing the house.
But I get it. Like, having been there myself, it's like, I remember spending the first month when my wife was gone, just like, that
you
was
want to do, you get this itch to do something. It's almost like when I was pregnant, people talk all the time, and you've got kids, you get in that nesting mode, and your wife like wants to do all the laundry and get the baby's room ready and everything. It's kind of like when your spouse leaves, you get in this weird nesting mode where you're just like, I got to do something. I got to like lean into my home, and I got to
landscape,
or I don't know. It's this weird like urge to keep yourself busy. And so,
So this is a great way to do it with intention, right?
Yeah, and limitations, right? Not everybody is your big luxury client. Some people are just like, just help me pick paint colors. I don't want it to look crazy in here.
There's the compromise, right? Like, we're going to change everything, but we're going to have a professional tell us how to do it.
There you go.
You're saving marriages. That's what you're doing.
I get jokes all the time. My clients are always like, we always say you're our interior designer and our marriage counselor. They'll call me, from a date and night and be like, did you say that this was going to be this tile or this tile, because I think this, but so and so said it was this,
Right.
and I'm like, okay, you guys need to just calm down.
But it's also, again, just, an example that's happening throughout the community, because you got the military part, but also just people moving in.
Yeah.
Like the whole dynamic of Navarre, even I've been here now, 7 years, the entire dynamic of the community has changed just since I've been here.
Yeah.
Right, in terms of like the people that are moving in, how much they're paying, all of that. And then of course, like their taste is completely different than it was in, say, the 70s or the 80s and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So people are getting these homes, like ours was built in the 90s, and it's like, okay, there's a lot we need to change, you know, right? Like, we got to change this out, change that out. I'd go back to the open kitchen. We had that in our last home that was only a couple years old. And then we come down here, that's not at all what we have. And we're like, I miss it, because you can't talk to people while you're cooking, right?
Right.
Like, so there's things like that of people wanting to update their homes with the times, right? And you can provide a great way to do that. So amazing stuff. All right, one more thing we got to highlight here before we run out of time, and that is, I think you got a blog going on the website. Did I catch that right? Like, this looks like a lot of fun.
Barely.
So.
I barely have a blog.
But that still counts.
I have one blog post.
Right.
And I continue to post
That's
them at
great.
the end of the quarter that they were supposed to be posted
That's all right.
in the beginning of.
That's right.
But yes, I have a blog, so that
I started
will
this
be...
show 2 minutes late, and Chaz is like, "Where is it?" So I feel you. Like we're putting it together as we can.
That will be updated, hopefully. Hopefully
totally
before
fine.
the end of quarter 2, and that one will be focused on 3D construction
Very
printing.
cool. Yeah.
So if you're interested in knowing more, I will have a wealth of information.
Well,
on there for you
if
to
we
scroll
can help
through.
in any way with that, because that's kind of what we're doing here too, is trying to craft a narrative with the following, the whole thing, and thread that together as well, and keep people updated on what we're doing as a group. So
I love it.
thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having
I want to
me.
go through the comments here real quick. I always love to do that.
Again,
before we head out.
probably still just only my family, which I'm okay with.
All right. So now all of this makes, even more sense to everybody who watches it. But Ali has said that she's always worked so hard and is super passionate about what she does. That's definitely clear. And glad you have a platform to showcase what she's done. I did want to ask you I think I could probably guess based on what you said, but what is the best part of doing the interior design for you? Like what for you is the number one joy you get out of it?
Well, I love people.
Yeah?
And I love to talk. So I get to meet all these cool people, and they allow me into the most intimate parts of their life to help me create a space for them that feels like home.
Yeah.
And so I think whenever the project is complete and they get to walk in and be like, oh, I love this. Oh my gosh. It was like all the stress and the tears and the money and all, just everything that building a home or renovating a home takes. They walk in and they're just like, we cannot believe that this is finally here, and it like meets and exceeds our expectations.
Yes.
That's the best part.
Yeah. Creating that space for them to recharge, feel, at peace.
And I think ever since COVID too, people are like, they just realize how important home is. Right. Nobody ever spent that much time at home before, and so it's like now they're like, okay, I can see why I would want to spend this money on a sofa, or I would want to invest in my kitchen being functional because I cook, and so it's just kind of reframed the way that people view home, I think, which for me has been great.
And kind of guiding them into that process that ultimately is their own design, but you're coming along giving them the tips to do it well. Yeah, that's really cool. Love that. All right, let's see what else we got here. All right, Chaz says that you look fabulous. That's great. So does Jacob.
My husband. Thanks.
Awesome. All right. I'll have to get my wife on here. She was like, "Yeah, you looked all right. Not great.
You look tired.
You look tired, Wes. Get some rest." Elizabeth says, "Wonderful to work with, creative, talented, and savvy." That's awesome.
My senior designer.
Yep. Elizabeth is well said. She was laughing at something that we had said before. Family for the win. She's making fun of my rock piles. I'll take care of it. I have intention in design for that. Samantha says, so knowledgeable, talented. Her work and design set her company apart and her top tier. Come to Colorado and help me. That's true. Well, and you doing kind of like that hourly thing opens up the possibilities too, right?
Yeah,
like you're
for
not
anybody.
Just local,
You don't have to spend a bunch of money to have a big project for me to work nationally. I can just hop on a Zoom call with you.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, and then Chaz had the last one. He said, "Thank you for coming on the show today. You are dynamic," and that to me is what's really, really exciting. Kind of just a parting thought is the community that subculture that's being built in Navarre is really cool, because there's a lot of like age-old debates about Navarre. There's a lot of thoughts about what it's been and what we've lost and all that stuff. But seeing folks coming in now who have a fresh look at it and that are bringing the skills that, again, I don't know if Navarre's ever had like the level of quality that you're bringing and that Chaz is bringing and Elizabeth. Probably not, right? So the entire future of this community is kind of like undecided. Like, what's it going to be, you know? And to me, the same passion that you're bringing to people's values and their homes and their agendas and all that stuff of what they're trying to create, to me, Navarre needs that as a whole. It's like, I want to see this community thrive with some level of intention, right? Yeah. With some level of like respectful teamwork, camaraderie, all that stuff. Yeah. Because I want it to be a community that people come back to and they're like, oh, like you said, it's livable and lively. Like we want that, you know, for the entire community, not just, you know, for homes and that's it. Because those things go together. You know, it's like my home is great, but then it's flooding all the time because the infrastructure sucks and the traffic's terrible and I can't get to work and all that stuff. Then it's just like, oh. Yeah. And so I want to see that kind of, just my opinion, expanded out as well. And I'm hoping that the community that's being built at the chamber and throughout this place can come together for that purpose.
I hope so too.
That's the hope. So anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure having you on there. So for the website, what's the address for that? JauntyJInteriors.com. Jaunty J Interiors. That's where you can go. You can sign up, get involved, follow the blog that you're building, but request your services, schedule the one-on-ones, all that kind of stuff, and do all that stuff. You're also on Facebook, I think.
Yep,
Instagram.
Jaunty J Interiors is all my socials.
Awesome. So, and then you can just contact us, and we can send folks your way as well. For Preserve Navarre, preservenavarre.com is our website. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Do this show every Thursday night. If you've got more comments and questions for Justine, just let me know. I'll send them her way. If you've got other people that you think should be on the show, let us know. We love showcasing great folks like this every week. But thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.